Welcome to Positive Outcomes, where leaders turn hard-won experience into income, impact, and freedom.
Today is another episode of the Positive Outcome podcast. And today we are meeting an expert that has two skills that I'm very, very excited to talk about today. And I believe that we're going to have a very, very good and interesting conversation today. So I am so looking forward to it. Today, I want to make sure that I have mention everything right. But again, like I said, this is Positive Outcomes where professionals, leaders turn their expertise into impact, income, and I'm the host, Doreen. Today's guest, Amal Isa, is a tech director, real estate investor, and a business owner. Amal's journey began with humble beginnings. She worked her way through college, and today she leads and at the intersection of technology and business. That's called resilience. That's called discipline. That's called mental tenacity. With over 15 years of corporate experience and deep belief that learning high-paying skills, the kind of people who love here, right? Deep belief that learning high-paying skills can create success. Amal exemplifies what it means to leverage expertise into growth and impact. So welcome to Positive Outcome, Amal. You are just amazing.
Thank you so much, Doreen, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to really talk about just my journey and how I can help others today.
And we are so looking forward to really, really hear what you have to offer. That's the whole purpose of this show, to make people know that they can make it, they can walk through it, and it's going to be fine. So Amal, tell us about your early journey, just like you mentioned. You said from your humble beginnings through college into tech world. What fueled all that drive?
So I think a few things. I think, I want to say my mother. And my mother really helped me guide what I needed to do. So at the age of 17, my mother became a single mother. And she had 5 kids. She has 5 kids. And one of them, my older sister, got married already, and she had 4 kids in the house. And I was 17 years old, and my mom was, I think she was about 41, 42. And she found herself just in a really tough situation. Mortgage needed to be paid, 4 kids. I had a 13-year-old brother at the time. He's 34 right now. So we needed to get a job. I needed to get a job. I needed to get a job in high school, and I needed to help her. So me and my younger sister, we're a year apart, we both got jobs, and then it really started from there. So as soon as I got into college, I was working 2 jobs and really helping my mom support and pay the mortgage. And then what I did was I ended up leaving the 2 jobs and getting 1 full-time job. I was managing a shoe store in the mall. It was Steve Madden shoes.
Oh, wow. Why going full-time college?
Yeah, so while going to full-time college. And then I also, at the same time, my mother I would always come home and I would find her crying. And I'm like, you know what? We need to change this. You need a job. And, for a Middle Eastern, we are Palestinian.
Yes.
For a Middle Eastern stay-at-home mom, that one of the best cooks you could ever, that's what she learned to do. She came from a village. She makes her own cheese. She makes her own bread. She makes everything from scratch. And now she needed to go out into the real world. And I was just like, hey, you can do this. There's no shame in any type of work.
I told you guys to take notes. She said there is no shame.
No shame.
Right?
And I'll come back to that point in a second. So so I taught her, I helped her interview. I helped her build a really brief resume. And she's been with that same company for 20 years, 21 years. So, I helped my mom really do that. And then from there, I was still working full time in college. And then, I went to a private school in Chicago, DePaul. DePaul is not cheap. So at the end of the semester, I would pay whatever I had to pay. A financial aid would pay some of it. I would pay $5,000-$6,000 at the end of the semester and then really go on from there. And I made a few mistakes in college. I loved taking classes and I loved learning so much. I ended up getting a minor in digital cinema. And I'm
Wow.
like, oh my God, this isn't gonna pay and I need to graduate. So then I switched my major to information systems where I learned how to code. I learned how to do, different things. And then while I was in college, I was my last year in college, I ended up getting a full-time job for AT&T. I ended up being um, an outside salesperson for AT&T in the government space. And it was my first corporate job. From there, I finished college and I really entered into the corporate world. So that really pivoted my route into technology and telecommunications.
A journey. Like I always tell people, leadership begins really at home, right? Because when I'm talking to parents, I said you train them leadership at the house and they take it to the world. Just hearing your journey is so amazing because believe it or not, your journey built who you are. Like the struggle at home and you taking the initiative and you going to school and doing digital and then coding and then to AT&T. It's such an amazing, amazing story you just said. Now, you've been in the corporate space for more than 15 years from what I saw, right? What's one lesson for those from those that shaped who you are today?
That's a great question because I just came back from visiting my family in Maryland and Virginia over the weekend. So I was in Baltimore, Maryland, and I have a cousin that's in her early 20s, and she left a position with a good company because her manager was not nice and she felt she was targeted. And I told her this. I was like, regardless of whatever anybody in my manager or whatever it may be, they're not going to make me lose my job. So I'm never going to leave my job where I'm getting paid good with a good company because someone else is being mean or a manager's being not nice. Because things always change. So I'm not going to let anybody else's personality really dictate what goals I have for me. That is one of the main things moving forward. Not a lot of people look like me in the corporate world. Not a lot of people come from my background. They don't understand me and they don't understand my background. So I may not necessarily fit in with their conversations or what they do on the weekends or what they eat or whatever it may be. But I'm not going to let them dictate my role within the organization. I'm going to do the best that I can, learn the best that I can, and keep moving forward. So
I love that.
that's the advice that I gave my cousin because no one is really going to do anything for you and no one's going to stop my goals.
Right. And this brings, because I can relate to that being doctor, MB, and all the things that I have. I remember my first job out of pharmacy school, they said, speak English, speak English. I don't understand what you're saying, right? But I just kept going. But when it gets to a place where, like, I'm just giving a scenario for your cousin or for you, have you been in a situation where it's just unbearable? You have the skills, you have the, because I know for my culture, we work hard. Our parents taught us, go get it, go get it. We work hard, we have values, we have this. When it gets to a place where, due to maybe diversity issues or ignorance, sometimes I say that, and it's just coming down and it gets unbearable. Have you ever been in that space? What did you, like, what some specific you did? Because it will help our listeners to know what to do.
There was a time where, again, this was early on in my journey, and then I'll bring another example that happened relatively recently. When I was with AT&T, I had to travel to different customer sites. So what I did was I had to travel to Wisconsin, not too far from where I live in the Chicagoland area, but I had to go visit a few different customers. So what I did was I mapped out the hotels and then visited all of my customers. And I would drive an hour. I just kept going north in Wisconsin and all of the hotels. And while I was doing that and really trying to hit my number, trying to hit my goals, trying to visit all of my customers, in my hotel room, my manager wanted me out. I wasn't hitting my goals. I wasn't hitting my numbers because I didn't know how to. It was my first sales job. I didn't know how to sell. And she called me that evening. I was in my hotel room visiting clients, and she said she was going to put me on a performance plan.
Oh, wow.
So, and I'm like, I'm out here visiting customers. Should I just go home? What is she going to do? And I finished what I had to do. And I realized she couldn't fire me
Right.
because there was nothing really to fire me about. I was hitting
Right.
my metrics of customers. And then I was hitting, with sales and especially long-term sales, you have to build those relationships and build that trust. And that takes time. That takes 9 months of time for you to really build that communication with the customer, especially if you're strategically selling multi-million dollar contracts. So that takes a lot of time. I didn't have any contracts that landed in my lap. I didn't have those internal resources to help me because I didn't know. I had to
Exactly.
build them and learn them by myself.
Yeah.
She would tell me every single day she wanted me out of the organization, and I just didn't give up. I just didn't
Wow.
give up because I had no choice at home. When I was at home, I was like, I'm trying to build, I'm trying to get into real estate. I was trying to get into real estate from 2012 to 2014. This is my ultimate goal, and I need some foundation to build what I want to do here. And I can't let whoever take that away from me or try to fire me. I'm not going to leave because I'm not going to let this person's bad attitude affect my paycheck. So I just continuously stayed. And that December, the company gave her a severance package and
Oh,
they forced her to leave. And that December, January 1st, she would have been gone from the organization. I want to say December 23rd, she called me and tried to get me to leave again. And I was like, I just frankly told her, I was like, hey, you're leaving. What's it to you if I stay within the organization? And I
right.
just told her. And that kind of leads me to another thing. I was always taught to be extremely respectful, extremely tolerant, and all of this stuff. And that clashes a lot with American culture because sometimes people are not really taught that way. When
Right.
I'm taught to look down out of respect, people are taught directly to look in the eye.
Right.
When I'm taught to not talk back, and
Mm-hmm.
just so when my boss is coming to me and telling me, well, you did this, sometimes I would stay quiet and not defend myself because
Uh-huh.
I thought that was talking back. So these cultural things don't translate well in the corporate world. So in the corporate world, I had to learn when you're talking, look at them in the eye. When they say something back. So these things that I wasn't necessarily taught at home to do. So that's something that I had to also learn throughout my career is to really balance the Eastern values, very Eastern values of respect and culture and elders with Western, where that's not necessarily how they do things.
Wow, this is just really, I think this listeners really need to hear this because sometimes you don't feel like you should communicate what you're dealing with, but you have to, you must. You must find the strength. And this is a classic example. And I'm so happy we have her today. You hear her dealing with a boss, and all of us go through situations where our bosses, managers, supervisors, or whatever we have, they don't want us, they don't like us for whatever reason. But productivity and performance, that is the key. So far as you are highly productive and you're performing very well, stay focused, close the noise. I call the noise. She said, stay focused, communicate despite, I know like for me, we can't even look at people in the eyes when we are talking to them, just like her, but you're going to have to make it in corporate America and speak up. So such great information for our viewers today. That's amazing. And you said something that just to expand on that, I say you believe in the power of learning high paying skills. So can you expatiate on why that is so important in today's world?
Well, there's a mixture of high paying hard skills and high paying soft skills. So when we're having conversations, learning how to navigate those conversations, learning how to look people in the eye and asking the right questions. Now, those type of skills you don't necessarily learn in a book. So you need to watch podcasts. You need to listen to mastermind classes and you need to learn and understand how to write an email. I know ChatGPT can help with a lot, but you also need to learn how to write and ask for things.
Mhm.
That's another thing. Uh, Again, my background, Middle Eastern, but I'm also the middle child. So I was always told to, hey, just take it and relax. Just take what you get. You know what I mean? Because I'm one of 5 kids.
Oh, wow. Yes, your
So
mom
just
is a
take it.
superwoman.
But there's a saying, closed mouths do not get fed. And if you do
Mm,
not say what you want, you're not going to get it. And that's a soft skill, but it's hard and it's beneficial and impactful.
very.
Now, from a soft skill perspective, learn how to talk to people, learn how to listen to people, and learn that skill set. So, learning how to really have those conversations and dealing with different people. Everyone has different personalities. Getting to know people and then being able to sell. That's a big one. And then from a hard perspective, from a learning how to
Correct. Yeah.
code, learning these hard skills that make you powerful, learning financial literacy, learning how to code, like I said, code, learning how to, um, whatever it is, cybersecurity, project management, learning how to manage multiple projects, understanding key aspects of those projects, learning how, so those are the hard skill sets that you're going to get from a certification program, doing that and then balancing it with the soft skills, the people skills. That's what AI will never take over. They'll never take over that connection and that one-on-one feeling that you get when meeting someone. Because sometimes you leave a conversation and you're so full of happiness and it feels good. And that's what you want to leave with people when you meet them. And they'll always remember how you made them feel. AI cannot do that.
Amazing. See, she came from a different perspective when it comes to AI, right? A lot of people have come here and said, AI is the best, and AI and AI and AI. And I keep saying, well, we need to balance this AI because we need a human touch. And I'm extra happy because she just mentioned that. Everybody communicates if you connect. The connection piece is key to your communication and the message that you're going across. So I love the soft skill. I love the hard skill. Thank you so much because you have to balance those two together. Wow. I told you guys we were going to have a great conversation today. We are learning. Now, as a director in tech, right, what are the biggest challenges that you see professionals face when moving into leadership in the tech world?
Challenges into moving into leadership. Okay, so this goes back to story time. Before I got my position roughly 5 years ago, I worked for a company. I worked for Verizon, another telecommunication company, and I was doing awesome. I was hitting all my numbers. I was hitting my goals. I was exceeding my goals, and I wanted to progress in my career. And I ended up getting a phone call. So I ended up, applying within, and there was a route that I wanted to go. And one thing you always have to see is your decisions and then kind of look at your options and say, okay, well, if I make this decision, what are the steps after? If I make this decision, what are the steps after?
Right.
And so on and so forth. And then
Wow.
you
I
pick,
like that. Flow chart your decisions, guys. That is my nugget for this show. Go
yeah, so you want to see where that takes you. And I didn't see that at Verizon. I couldn't see where I was going and I couldn't see how much I was going to make. And then the next position above me, it didn't make how much I wanted to. And I was like, you know what? I can leave this company and make this much elsewhere. So I was applying internally at Verizon for a position that was technically a little higher than mine, but there was nothing, it was 2 levels above me. But there was nothing in the handbook that said I couldn't. There was nothing in anything that said I couldn't do it. So I did. And I get a call from my director, and she calls me and says, what makes you think that you can apply for that role?
Oh,
You've
wow.
never done it before. And she's like, just sit down and focus on your current role. And then I told her, well, I'm doing exceptional in my current role. And I was like, aren't you new to being a director? Because she only got that position a few months ago. And I was like, how did you know that you can be a director if you've never done it before?
Wow.
And
Good question.
how did you know? And that's when she actually told me, just sit down and focus on your current role. My current role at the time, I wasn't making enough money. I was newly married. We just bought a townhouse and we were just kind of living paycheck to paycheck. Me and my husband. He worked, I worked. We both worked, but it just wasn't working. So after she told me that, I realized she wasn't going to be an advocate for me within
Yep.
my organization.
Yes.
And you need
Exactly.
people that are going to advocate for you. And I didn't get that feeling from her.
Right.
So what I did was I started looking for different opportunities. I wrote down all the companies I wanted to work for, and it was a long list. I looked at companies that are good to their employees, good culture, pay high, and I made a list. I did not apply to any of them. I made a list and I put it on a sheet of paper. I think I have my notebook somewhere here. You can see it was over 75 companies in
Oh, wow.
technology, 75. And before my husband woke up, what I did was Saturday morning, I would wake up, drink my coffee, and 8 a.m., start the search and start applying. I would apply to 3 different companies and 3 jobs within each company. I was getting 3 or 4 interviews a month. And in those interviews, I prepped. I knew the VP, the CEO. I knew what they were doing, the technology, and I would go from there. And then I made a list of questions to the hiring manager and to the agents because I wanted to make sure if this was a good route for me. So before you interview or whenever you're looking for something, have a list of questions and say, hey, just a minute. I just want to make sure it's a good fit, and interview them. Interview that company and see if that's a good fit for you. And then don't be afraid. Ask, what is the salary range? Because if the salary range isn't for you, tell them directly, hey, okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it, but I don't think this is a good fit, and move on. And that's how I ended up doubling my salary, almost at 250%, significantly from one position to another within 9 months. And it's
Wow.
just really studying and what you need to do. And then also having people to coach you through the interview. I had 3 people coach me at a very high level, how to interview at that high level.
Amazing.
I left Verizon in September of 2021. And I made president's cabinet. I would have went to, I believe it was St. Martin in March with Verizon. But I left beforehand.
That's amazing. We can tell that from what you said, a lot of being intentional. I always talk about intentional lifestyle, intentional living, because everybody being in corporate leadership, I know that she just explained being intentional. You just don't wake up, go to LinkedIn, easy apply, and your resume is already stuck there, and you just keep applying, applying,
Never
applying.
do that.
Never do that.
Never do that. Never. I don't know why they have the easy apply button. Look up those companies, go to their website and apply directly through their website. Look at that company, apply directly on the website, and reach out to the hiring manager on LinkedIn. You could use LinkedIn. Use it by all means, but don't hit the easy button. Don't do that.
I've said that like 20 times before. So see? Hear it from somebody else. Maybe you listen now.
Don't do that.
Don't use that. Go to the company's website, and that will force you to know if that's a good fit for you. You get to read about the company, read about their mission, their culture, and know how to ask them the questions. She said, interview the company that is interviewing you. I absolutely love that.
So
You said something.
one tip, just one tip. Usually there's a recruiter. You first talk to the recruiter. So that's the first step. The recruiter will then send you like to the hiring manager or whoever. From the recruiter, get the salary range from the recruiter. So you have that written down. Then when they send you an offer, go back to the initial offer and the range and negotiate 20% higher. And then they'll meet you in the middle.
And that happens like that every time, especially if you're a preferred candidate.
Because
I
they're
love
going to
it.
lowball you.
Yeah.
Definitely, they're going to lowball you. What are they going to say?
Guys, take those notes. Take those notes. This is exactly what I need in the Positive Outcome podcast. We need people to come and help us to take our expertise to the next level. This is just super amazing. So now let's shift a little bit to real estate, right? How have your real estate and business venture shaped the way you think about growth beyond the corporate path? Because real estate, because you're going the corporate path and then you're doing real estate. How did that work out?
Yeah. So kind of back to my first corporate job, the first year and a half, I didn't know how to sell and I didn't know how to make money. After that, I made a lot of money. I made great money. It took me probably a year and a half to learn how to sell, to learn how to talk to people. And a lot of people within my organization really helped me. So really not leaving, being positive, always having that positive, just outcome. And so while I was making good amount of money, I wanted to get into real estate in 2013, between 2012 and 2014. And I had money saved up and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to buy my first unit. I wanted to buy a 3-unit in the Chicagoland area. And I lost my job. They ended up eliminating my position completely. And I
Oh,
was
wow.
like, so I was working with a broker. I was working with an agent. We were looking and then boom, I lost my job. So then I had to put that on hold and I ended up, just taking a break from working. And I'll let you know, I did step into the nonprofit space. I'll talk about that shortly.
Mhm.
But then when I ended up getting my, recently, this job that I'm in, I ended up making a significant amount of money. And I said, I want to build a portfolio. I want to be able to look back and have an existing portfolio, have cash flow, and have equity. How do I create that? What do I do? And I have a zero background in real estate and I took a crash course and I went, and this is one of the high-paying, hard skills that you can learn. I went to a real estate organization in the Chicagoland area and I said I wanted to join. And at the time, I had my son, and I had my son in August of 2022 and with zero in real estate. And then in October of 2022, I joined a real estate group and my son was 3 months old. And I did the seminar in my living room on the floor and I had him and I was just watching the seminar and I got a phone call and I was like, okay, I want to join the group. And they were just really kind of teaching what they do and how they do it. I joined the real estate group. There was an entry fee. And then what I would do is the classes were on every Saturday morning. And I was so lucky because my company at the time, and they don't do this anymore because they were acquired, they gave me 6 months off maternity leave. That's unheard of.
What?
That's unheard of.
No.
Unheard of. But
Yeah.
my company was acquired, so they don't do that anymore at all. But my old company, before it was acquired, they gave me 6 months off. And in those 6 months, I had my baby. And every Saturday morning from 9 to 5, I would go to my real estate class and my husband would take care of the baby on Saturdays. I would go to the real estate class and they taught me how to invest, how to get the lawyers, how to look at the numbers, how to look at the neighborhoods, how to look at the rehab costs, how to manage the rehab costs, how to ask for private money. So the money that I get to purchase my real estate, I put zero down and I get private money lending for the purchase price and the rehab amount. And if the property's ARV after rehab value is enough to pay, if this value is enough, then you can
Right.
pay for the interest and you can pay for everything needed within the ARV. So they really taught me how to look at life from an investor perspective. I started my journey in 2022. And now we're in 2025. I've done 11 properties. I have 5 properties that I'm holding and they're rented out. And it's just now a way of life. And I still have my corporate job.
That is amazing. This is so inspirational, guys. This is exactly what I am talking about. Because if anything happens to your corporate job right now, you have something else to lean on. And real estate, if I understand, and you can correct me, is the kind of business that it goes, you don't have to be doing something about it every second.
No. So you can hire a GC, a general contractor, to help you do the rehab. I don't do any of my rehab work. And my husband works at a hospital. He does MRI, but he got his GC license and he's very good at project managing. And that's where me and my husband work very well together because my husband's he's very smart. He remembers every single detail. And I don't remember details. My husband is very detail oriented. He remembers details. He remembers timelines. He remembers what needs to get done. And that's where he does everything. He does the GCing. And if you have a partner, if you have someone that you trust to really help you, I look at the bigger picture of things. Okay, this is what we're going to do. But from a day-to-day perspective, that's not me. That's my husband.
Yeah, partnership. And that goes into collaboration, right? Regardless of whatever we are doing or whatever we are skilled, we don't have all the skills. Nobody has all the
Yeah.
skills.
So
So
have
you
someone
have
to,
to focus on what you do and do what you do best, and then have other people look. Like for her, thank God her husband has the skills. So it's not saying that you can't do it. Just partner with someone that has something to offer that you don't have. That's super amazing.
and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. We fight,
Oh yeah.
but
Of course.
you have to
Oh,
work through it because that's part of
that's
it.
part of marriage. Yep. That's definitely part of marriage.
No, from a business perspective too. We learn to work through it.
That's so amazing. And I talked about balance because, like, people talk about balance. I feel like balance is something that is in our mind, and like you can balance things up if you prioritize and plan effectively. So, how do you balance? And we just talked about it, corporate career and running a business. That was my next question, which you already answered, right? You do what you do best, and you bring your husband or the expertise. And this goes for all of us here, those listening. Do what you do best. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to be skilled, right? Get somebody else to do all the other things. So, if you could advise your younger self, right, just starting out, what would you tell your younger self? Two things that, yeah, if your younger self in a phase of, because I know you did so well. You know, that some people say, oh, I would have said, don't do what I did and don't do what I did. But I'm really curious to hear if you look back at your younger self before college, through college, is there anything that you go back and say, hey, do this, or you should have done this?
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of my life, I was always in like emergency mode. And for a lot of my life, it's like, I got to get through this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And, I would just really tell myself to relax. It's two-part. You need to have that fire in you, and you need to tell yourself that everything is going to be okay. Because I think that's what helped motivate me so much, is because I was so scared of not succeeding. I was scared of failing, and that's what motivated me so much. So I think that fear really ignited me. I would just tell myself, just relax, everything's going to be cool. Everything's going to be okay. But I guess, in hindsight, you do need that fire.
Yes,
You do need that fire.
that's the fuel.
Yeah, you do need the fuel. What I would do is I'll tell you this. I'm going to be 100% honest with you here. As much as I worked, I play hard too. I went to every party.
I
I
love
enjoyed
that.
myself. So,
I love that.
just relax and enjoy yourself
I
as
love
well,
that.
but don't party too hard.
Balance, find a way to balance it and prioritize it. I
I didn't
absolutely
really
love
answer
that.
your question. I did, but I guess don't be so hard on yourself, and then just move forward. And your relationships in life really will either pivot you forward or set you back. So whoever you're dating, whoever you're seeing, make sure that you're planning out, is this someone that I can see myself with? And have those conversations. So I know we're talking from a very business perspective and professional perspective, but your personal life and who you're dating really affects how you're going to move forward. It can set you back or move you forward. So, date with purpose. And,
Date with purpose. I love that.
yeah,
Yep.
when I met my husband, you know, I I just had horrible dating experience, very, very bad. And when I met my husband, it was like an interview. I had a checklist, a physically written checklist of what I do's and do nots in men, because for some reason I just didn't know how to date. I didn't know. I was so good in this professional aspect, and then this aspect was just not. So, ask that person, what
Ask
do
them.
you
Yeah.
want?
Know what you want, write it down, and look for that in that person.
So there was a lot of setbacks in this area here.
And you can't know it all. You can't be perfect. But the good thing for you is that you're very good at strategizing. You are self-aware. You've mastered yourself. We talk about personal mastery and self-development, right? And if you don't grow yourself every day, you're going backwards. You always have to find time and say, like she just said, I am good at this, but this I was struggling. You have to know you to
Mhm.
identify the aspects of your life that it needs improvement. And that's exactly what she did, guys. So I challenge you listening to us today. Look yourself in the mirror. Assess yourself professionally in your relationship, in your physical being, in your nutrition, in your finance. Assess it and see what, like put it really from 1 to 10. and see where you can improve. So this, what Amal said, is just an amazing tool that will really help you to know what next step to take. So for you right now, what is the next step? What the next vision from here? What are you pursuing? We talked about your career, real estate. What is the next vision for you? Because you're very ambitious, very tenacious. I'm trying to really understand what is happening next.
So there's a few things. I feel like I'm caught in between whether or not I should get my master's, because not only have I built a real estate portfolio, I'm a director in my position. I manage multiple technology resellers. And so I'm like, you know, I would like to get, and I'm looking into an MBA program, and not to excel in my corporate world and not to excel necessarily in my business world, but in the future, maybe I'd like to teach at a university level and help people understand business dynamics, and also from an entrepreneurial perspective. A lot of people say I'm an entrepreneur, but what does that mean? Like, what is it? What is
Right.
it that you do?
I
And
love it.
you have to have, and a lot of like younger people say, I want to be an entrepreneur. But what does that mean?
What does it entail?
What does it entail? One thing that I was able to do from my real estate journey is my husband and I also built a company within our real estate. So we sell and design kitchen cabinets and bathrooms. And
Wow.
we grew that for the past 2 years. We were able to grow a significant base. And, probably by next year, we'll have 1 million in sales.
Amazing.
So we were able to grow that. So really understanding how to navigate through
How
that
to
and picking up
navigate it.
opportunities.
Right.
One thing that each and every one of my corporate jobs has done, they make us take an assessment on how you sell, how you think, or whatever it may be. And one of the things that always came up on top for me is that I connect dots. So I connect things in, okay, well, you can do this, you can do that. I connect people in real life. Like, okay, well, this person needs this and this person sells this. So I'll make those connections with people. So I think that's one of the biggest skill sets that I've always naturally had, is building those connections naturally. I build it in almost anything. And whether it's ideas, theory, politics, business, people to people. So that's a skill set too. It's kind of like a soft skill set.
It is, yeah.
It's a soft skill set, but it really pivoted me forward.
That's amazing. That is super amazing. For our listeners, because I want them to benefit from this, okay? What do you want the listeners to take away about building success, business, growing in your career from such a humble beginning, right?
I think you need to set a foundation, and you need to start. And this is my opinion. Make sure that you're comfortable, because you won't be able to pivot and move to the next motion in life if you don't have security in your rent, where you're staying, food, all of these different things. These need to be covered for you to move to the next level. You can't move from the bottom where you don't have your security covered. And this is from a real perspective where, those are things that I was thinking of, because you can't grow from survival mode. When you're in survival mode, you're just thinking, what can I do to survive? So make sure you set your foundation first, get a good job, whatever it may be, set all of those things, make sure your family, and then you can grow, because you can't grow from survival.
Amazing, 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 Amal. The whole purpose of this podcast is so we all learn and grow together. So I am taking notes. I hope you guys are also taking your notes. So we always, as we are closing, we always end our episodes with this question. What is the proudest positive outcome? What is that thing that you're so proud of? I know you have so many. Pick that one thing that you are absolutely proud of that got you to a positive outcome. And what did it take for you to get there?
My positive outcome is, being able to help my mom. Kind of going back, I started with my mother, and being able to just really help my mom, my brother, my sisters, and kind of coming back. That's the reason why I do everything. So I think that is the most And, this weekend in Virginia, when we went to Virginia, I wanted to make sure all of my family was taken care of. So I got a big Airbnb. I did, you know what I mean? So we were able to do all of these things. When we were younger, we weren't able to do that, and we weren't able to really travel like that. And my mom has her sisters in Virginia, and, my mom has her family back in Jerusalem, back in, Palestine. So being able to send my mom to Palestine, being able to
Mm,
send her back and forth. I think the next thing that I want to do is Hajj. I want to be able to take my mom to Hajj. And
mm,
so I want to be able to pay for that trip. And that's $15,000,
mm.
being able to, okay, mom, okay, we're going to travel. This is what you're going to do. And
Wow.
I think she's waiting until she fully retires, and that's next year.
Oh,
So,
wow.
next year she'll be able to go to Hajj.
Such an amazing, you need to write a book of that, honestly, write a book of that journey. Just hearing your why is such a value-based, integrity-based why, taking care of your mother from such a humble background. And I'm sure that our listeners have benefited quite a bit and a bit. Thank you so, so, so very much for your time. And to everybody else, please remember to like, share. I know there are some of you guys that benefit from this information. She talked about being focused. She talked about communication, speaking up, regardless of your accent or how you look like or how you feel. Stay the course, close the noise. The naysayers, I always say it, close that noise and stay focused. So thank you all so, so much for listening.
I
Bye.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Positive Outcomes. Follow the show and share this episode to inspire someone's next chapter.